We're going to wait a couple more minutes. So if you do need to take a stretch at this time, go to the bathroom, grab something to drink, feel free to do that. We'll probably start closer to 1:40.
Before we start, I'm just curious. Are people using like the same fundraising strategy this year versus like years past with like sponsors? I know some like sponsors aren't in like the best situation like economically right now just because with COVID and the recession. So I'm curious, do people like still have the same sponsors or sponsors not willing to give out as much this year, which is totally understandable on like their part too. Um, are people like good financially? Are people like struggling maybe a little bit more? Just to get a sense of the room right now. Feel free to like put in the chat or whatever works. Okay, so funding depends on what FRST is going to officially decide. Yeah, I at least thankfully this year, like FRST like decreased the like uh for like what the payment rate for just like registering. It's like that's been like at least like a good thing. That it's not like the full $5,000. It's I think $2,000 now. I think yeah. But definitely not easy still overall. Mm-hmm. Okay, so John Deere normally yeah. So some companies like John Deere make it a requirement that teams do chairmans to get funding, but no word from John Deere. Also going to talk about in addition to like corporate sponsorships, the creative fundraisers that don't rely on sponsors. Since this year, that's what it's looking like. That sponsors are focusing more on like internal things right now versus like giving money. So it's going to be more up to the teams to fundraise this year. So yeah, we're going to talk about some more like creative ways to raise funds. Basically. Yeah. That's good. Cool. So another person is fundraising to compete as usual, but also creating a what's a championship nest egg? What is that? I don't know what a nest egg is. But upgrading pit, yeah, that's totally understandable. We also like my team needs a pit upgrade. Yeah, getting more equipment, awareness like banners and presentation materials. Very good. Yeah, key and a presentation robot. That'd be good. Those are great things. Oh, gotcha, savings, gotcha. Okay, that's funny. I've never heard of that. Savings are good. Yeah, because exactly savings are good for like situations like now with COVID. So having funds in the bank makes it easier for teams and not as stressed when there is a recession or things like that. Okay, yeah, so it's been hard to get sponsors after COVID. That's kind of what, yeah, it seems like. Cool, good to know.
Hey Miriam, I'm on.
Hi.
All right. It looks like we have everyone on and we are almost at 1:40, so we are going to get started. So hey everyone, welcome to session 4. This is our last session of the day, and it will be covering fundraising. Miriam and Elizabeth are going to be our presenters. All sessions are being recorded, so please make sure that you're muted. Type any questions you have into the chat, and then they'll be answered at the end during our Q&A section. I am going to let Miriam and Elizabeth introduce themselves, so take it away whenever you are ready.
Awesome, thanks, Bridget. So yeah, fundraising. A little bit about us. So hello, I'm Miriam. I'm currently a junior at Yale University. I am studying electrical engineering and computer science. I am an alumnus of FRC Team 930, and currently I am mentoring FRC Team 7869, the fun game, which is based in New Haven, Connecticut.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Olshanetsky. I'm a rising sophomore at Yale, so I'm currently on a gap year working as an associate at Republic Labs, doing some cool venture capital stuff, and I'm an alum of FRC 1807.
Yeah. So a little bit of session outline. So yeah, we're going to start off with talking about setting a fundraising goal. Some of you started mentioning that in the chat already, what your guys' goals are for this year. Corporate sponsorships, we're going to briefly touch on just because it looks like, yeah, like this year, that's not, a lot of sponsors aren't donating as per usual. And that's normally the biggest chunk of money for teams. Applying for grants, which is probably going to be like a big thing this year. My team just got a grant from FIRST, the diversity and inclusion grant. So things like that. Also schools and community organizations are good ways for getting funds. So we're going to talk about those. Creative fundraisers as well. And we're going to have to be especially creative this year for getting money for our teams. We're going to talk about impact and evaluation and why that matters for getting sponsorships, for getting grants, and just in general for like just promoting the team and getting people to donate. And finally, cultivating relationships and how that can be used to fund robotics teams. And at the very end, we'll just go more into like the nitty gritties of like how to actually reach out to partners, to sponsors for money, even this year. So yeah, I'm gonna start off.
Do you want me to go through this or do you want to go through it?
Either or.
Okay, I can do it. So as Miriam mentioned, one of the big things with fundraising is setting a fundraising goal. Obviously, you could have your like ultimate kind of like dream, and then it's good to have like a reasonable goal because you want to push towards something that you think is possible, as opposed to trying so hard for, it's better to kind of have an idea of how much you can get and work for that and maybe surprise yourself in the process than be too hard on yourself and try to go for too much. So by having a yearly budget, which includes, entrance fees for tournaments, robot parts, transport, workshop supplies and tools, optional, again, extra projects and stuff like that. Those are a lot of things to consider just when playing into your budget, and also having an idea of how much maybe you would want to have additional, like we were saying, the nest egg or savings earlier. It's good to play that into your budget as well, because you don't want to just break even and spend as much as you get, but also to have some saved for unforeseen circumstances, which seem to come up a lot more. So foreseen, unforeseen circumstances, I guess you could call it. And make sure to share your budget with key stakeholders. You want your sponsors to know like how much you're trying to raise, and also just like the people that are working with you. Maybe it's the parents on the team as well, because a lot of parents tend to be instrumental in fundraising as well.
Yeah. So corporate sponsors, I'm sure most of you are pretty well versed in this already. Ways, and like a lot of like big sponsors may not be donating this year, but there could just be, it never hurts to reach out to companies and to lots of different companies, even if, because it is very hard right now, like financially, if there's not like one company that can donate like $5,000 because it may not just be in their budget, even if they can donate $100. If you get a lot of companies to donate $100, like that adds up, and you want that, and you want to make sure that corporate sponsors are aware that it is okay that like any amount is good. If they can only donate like $100, $200, because they just don't have a lot of money this year, like that's okay. Tell them that, and just reach out to a lot of companies to get those small dollar donations, because that's really key. So yeah, just good ways to reach out to new sponsors are just local Chamber of Commerce websites. That's where I always start with my team when I was in high school, and even now I like help get my students to just look up and like research what companies are on the Chamber of Commerce websites from the area. And these are going to have like email or phone calls, like just cold calling, cold emailing, like key people. So of course, reaching out to like people who manage the money, who make the decisions on who to sponsor. So any like VPs of the company, there's someone who's the director of human resources, things like that. You want to reach out to them. You want to foster those contacts and let them know about your team and why, and if they could sponsor even like a small dollar amount, like that would be great. Easy other way to reach out to more sponsors if you don't have enough sponsors already. Just reach out to like the mentors companies, of course, and like companies of students' parents where they work at. And a key thing to keep in mind is that any company can sponsor. Like sometimes it's easy to fall under the mindset that only engineering or only manufacturing or only technology companies can sponsor. And like, no, that's not the case at all. You want any company from any field, any sector to sponsor your team, because the team helps out the community. The team helps like inspire and grow like the next generation of professionals, not just in STEM, but in other avenues. So just really selling that point of why your team should be sponsored by anyone is really key. And like another like great sponsorship too, besides like engineering and manufacturing firms, are restaurants, because you can get free food from them. Like that is a way of sponsorship. Like they don't have to give any money, but like they can like provide pizza for the team. Like that's sponsorship right there. And that way the team doesn't have to spend money on food. So just letting them know. And then we'll talk about this more at the end of like specifically how to foster those corporate relationships, but just getting that selling their how the team benefits them and how it's the sponsors benefit the team. So how it's a mutual beneficial relationship is really key. Just reaching out to a lot of sponsors is really key this year, because sponsors are not going to be donating once again like that much money. So the more sponsors you have that donate a little bit amount, the better. And there are still like national or regional like sponsorships. Those are more along the lines of grants where you need to apply for them. So there's the classic like NASA grant. I believe that passed already, but hope you guys did that. Otherwise, there's still other sponsorships in the area. I know Rockwell Collins also has grants and sponsorships for teams, for like any team. They just need to apply. So you can still reach out to those. Those companies are still working on that. And like another good company like PTC, Creo, and like SolidWorks, they just like sponsoring teams with software, and they also do donate money to teams. So some of the bigger corporations are doing a little bit better than the like smaller companies, just because like they have like more resources generally. So they still are sponsoring teams, and those are probably going to be some of the bigger budget like donation sponsorships for this year. So definitely target those, and just an easy like Google and just internet search can help you find just like, oh, first robotics grants. Like there's a lot out there. And on that, applying for grants.
Just to echo what Miriam said, like no matter what kind of company it is, like think outside the box and go for it. Like if whatever method of applying for funding sounds remotely like something that aligns with like your first robotics team, like go for it, because you never know. Like my team got sponsored by a cryptocurrency, which is just like something completely different. And also, just aside from engineering companies, a lot of pharmaceutical companies like Johnson & Johnson, Bristol Myers Squibb are also big on that. Miriam, do you want to go over the Wisconsin stuff, since that's probably more relevant?
Yeah. So this year, the Wisconsin DPI grant is up in the air. It is in law though that they have to give money to robotics teams. So there's going to be a Wisconsin First town hall later on. If you're a mentor, you all should be getting the emails. So yeah, go to that. There's going to be more information on that later on. But that is pending. That will still happen. So hopefully that is just a good way, just to get once again like funds for this year. It's really cool that Wisconsin has this bill too, because not every state has this bill where the DPI just like gives money to teams. So waiting on that. So, yeah, for sure.
And then as mentioned on the slide, there's different FIRST Foundation grants, which Miriam kind of touched upon before. FIRST itself gives a lot of money, and then a lot of the partnerships that FIRST has as well have money that they hand out. Strategic partnership grants, again, a lot of corporate sponsorships will partner with FIRST itself, and then you can apply, as Miriam mentioned, there's NASA and there's a couple of other ones you can look at, and then general education and nonprofit grants. Regional and local foundations might give funding to STEM organizations or something similar, just any organizations of kids or something pursuing STEM, so that might work. And there's also databases where you can look at different grants that you can apply for. And with this, just like definitely when you're writing these applications, this is more of a technical thing, but like save them in Google Drive, because you will likely be able to use the content that you write for one grant application for another one. So you don't have to rewrite your story like 10 million times. Like there's a couple of questions that will tend to repeat from application to application.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And on that note too, it's really useful to just like have an Excel sheet or like a Google sheet with all like incoming money donations, both like grants and sponsors. So you can just like, yeah, list sponsor name, contact person, email, how much you're giving us, or like if we reached out to them, because you can even use it to track which if and like have your students reach out to the sponsors, so you can track whether they've been reached out to, whether they replied. If they replied, how much money they'd give, or if they replied and said they couldn't donate this year, note that. But maybe they're interested for a future year, so keep that contact so that for the next year, if they do have money, reach out again and let them know. So yeah, just track everything in a spreadsheet is the best way to go about doing this, because there's a lot of grants, a lot of sponsors, and quantity is key. Especially this year, quantity is like almost better than quality. Not you always have to have quality, but quantity is really key this year, because you want, once again, those like $100, so that adds up for your team. So yeah, keep track of them on a spreadsheet. So for schools and community organizations, the schools aren't super impacted financially this year, just because like they still collect taxes, especially like public schools. So like they still have their revenue streams. And schools are just a great way to get funds. So communicate with your school board, communicate with the directors of your school, and just if they don't already, get them to sponsor the team. My team currently, the every extracurricular activity gets $1,000, I believe, from the school. And it just, yeah, for the yearly fund. So that's just a great starting point. That just gets you there. And yeah, just get your school board to give even more than that if they are able to. And it's especially great. And we're gonna talk about this at the end too, why impact and evaluation matters, because having strong metrics on your team is going to convince a lot of people to give you more money. So you want to communicate those. And yeah, we'll talk about that at the end, but you can like show these metrics to your school board. And for instance, incentivize them to give more money if your team is like doing really great things. So maybe if your team wins an award at a regional event, get them to give you extra money. Or if your team advances to championships, have the school board pay to fund your trip to championships. My team 930, or the team that I was on, like we did this. Originally we weren't really sponsored by our school at all. But now they actually pay for championship registration when we advance to championships. So that's just a great way to just get more money from directly from your school. And normally, yeah, just because it is like one FRC team per school, like that's your school should flex the robotics team just as much as you benefit from your school from them giving you money. So don't forget about that, for sure. Other ways too to just like get money from like your school and like community areas is like merchandise for robotics. Up the prices of team t-shirts, team sweaters, caps, polos, blankets, fun things, bags, what else, like, yeah, and anything you can think of that has your robotics team logo on it. Sell it to not just your team members, or like additionally like team t-shirts from like for the team members and team mentors. Sell it to just everyone in your community, even people who aren't on the team. Sell it to family members. And yeah, just use that as a fundraiser. So just charge a little bit extra, and like the extra money you make is just donations to the team. And always have an option for people, in addition to buying stuff, which already proceeds go to the team, they can just add an extra donation. So just targeting those like individual donations is really key this year when companies like can't sponsor that much. Just the more the merrier. If everyone can donate $5 and there's like 200 people who donate $5, that is a grand. That is a grand, right? Yeah, math, mental math. So yeah, that's $1,000 if you get 200 people to donate $5. So it adds up. So yeah, definitely merchandise. And there are other community organizations you can reach out to or partner with. These are especially, these aren't really, most of these community organizations partner with some of the younger students. So especially for First Lego League. So maybe if your team has a budget for First Lego League for mentoring younger teams, maybe some of that budget could be alleviated by partnering with these organizations. Maybe they can cover the cost of like buying Lego League kits. So you work with them, they provide the kits, you provide the mentors, and like high school students can still mentor Lego League students. So that's just another aspect of like how partnering with community organizations can alleviate maybe your team's budget. And that was just really good for like strengthening partnerships, strengthening relationships and stuff like that. So definitely reach out if community does have any like organizations like that. They're super willing and able to partner with teams. So yeah.
One thing also to add to that is that I don't know, every community is different, but for example, in my town, there's like a local Facebook group. And a lot of the times, if there's a particular item that the robotics team needs, say, for example, like we need a new whiteboard so we can work on writing out our ideas, most of the time, if there's like an item like that somebody needs and you post about it in the Facebook group, there is very likely a parent in the community that will be happy to donate a new one or might already have this item. So if it's something that you think that another person might have, or maybe you're not sure, it's worth a shot if that's something that you have in your community. With that being said, some creative fundraisers, because again, grants are extra hard this year. They're already hard, and this year companies have less money to dish out. Include different fundraisers with food. Of course, this is limited with COVID. For example, something that we used to do is like sell concessions at a particular event. However, right now that's not possible, but maybe you could do something like if you have a particular restaurant, for example, for us, we had Red Robin where you can make a deal with them and they would give like 15% of every bill that used this certain coupon to the robotics team. And it could be something that still works with takeout, because as long as, you know, they say like, oh, I'm doing this to support the team, it might be something that works. Crowdfunding, something like Kickstarter or GoFundMe, these work particularly well if you're raising for a particular item. Or for example, we did something for Worlds when we qualified for like the first time in 10 years, and shared it in all of the local community groups, and all of the team members also shared it on their own platforms, and we ended up getting like $3,000 or something, which is not a small feat, and that covered a lot of stuff. Another idea is robotics gifts. If you have the machinery and the materials to do it, you could like 3D print something or laser cut keychains. Like we made some with our team logo and we had those as gifts, or like you can engrave things for people. So kind of really utilizing the resources you have for not much of an additional cost, but something that you might be able to end up selling. And then another fundraiser could potentially be like a community day. Again, this is of course cautious of COVID, but perhaps you have, you know, robotics kids. People are good at electrical engineering and even like CS stuff. People could come in and pay like some small fee to support or like donate to the robotics team, and then you'd help them like fix their appliances.
Mm-hmm. Some other ideas for creative fundraisers, and this is like super up to your team. But maybe the like head mentor could like shave their head, or I don't know, some fun thing like that. And just like, oh, raise money for the robotics team. And if a certain amount of money is raised, then yeah, like the head mentor will shave their head or like dye their hair red or something. Ways like that to just like keep the engagement high, keep the motivation high, and also incentivize people to give money. Is really key this year. And yeah, just like even like getting like along with the gifts, just like thank you notes to people this year. Just have students just write down thank you notes is really key. And not just to corporate sponsors, but also to just like individual donors who like donate a certain amount of money. For sure. Oh, someone else just mentioned adopt a robot part has also worked for us. Like adopting an animal to zoo. That is really cool. Thank you so much for suggesting that. I love that. Yes, that is amazing. So like if a certain like person or company or sponsor wants to adopt a robot part, that would be great. And it's kind of funny too, because like especially for outreach, a lot of times you can give your robot funny names. Like you know when you like have outreach presentations to like younger students, it's like, oh, where's the mouth of the robot? And it could just be like the shooter or like the pickup, the intake is the mouth of the robot. So yeah, just fun ways like that to keep people involved, to keep people engaged, and keep people like to get people to donate even like $5. and social media campaigns are really good too. A lot of people actually have like bingo boards on social media. So you basically just like have a bingo board, and there's really, really small amounts. So it's like $7, $3, $2, $5, $10, 15. And it's like a bingo board. And basically students and mentors, anyone on social media can just like take a picture of this board, share this board on their social media pages on Instagram or whatever for like a story. It's like, hey, I'm raising money for the robotics team right now. I really appreciate it if you can Venmo me a certain amount of money. So then other students, other high school students can even Venmo like, oh, I'll Venmo like $3 to the robotics team. And then you have to like bingo, like fill out the bingo board, and you can like keep having lots of bingo boards. So yeah, just ways to get people, especially because everyone's so connected now, ways to get people engaged with creative like fundraisers like that. Ooh, someone else.
Oh yeah, hard sales. I guess, yeah, if you could get some kind of gift card for a discounted price and then upsell it, then yeah, definitely another good one. Another thing, this is kind of goes like with the whole idea of fundraising that could be really helpful, is if you have the ability to go through an organization, maybe in your community you're partnered with, or your team itself has a 501c3, that is huge, because then like if somebody gives you some kind of donation, they could write it off in their taxes, which is really good incentive.
Most teams go off of their high school's 501c3 number, I believe. So yeah, just do that, and just also promote that. We're gonna talk about at the end with like sponsor forms, putting down sponsor forms, but also just promoting it to individual people, individual donors. That yeah, it's a tax write-off, so it also benefits them. So for impact and evaluation, we can both cover this, but yeah, this is really key to showcase how wonderful and amazing your team is, and get people to donate to keep sustaining your team's wonderful and amazing initiatives. Yeah, so ways to like measure impact and evaluation and present it. So it's in terms of presenting it, you generally want to have like two options for presenting impact and evaluation. The first option is creating like a one-page document on your team. So if like just a really brief overview, like here's our team, here's like a really quick history, here's the like our team demographics, here's the number of people on our team, number of mentors, here's all the events that we run. Maybe you guys like run a competition, or in years past, like in person, like FLL competitions, FTC competitions, or so you help run this FLL competition, different events that you go to. Maybe you go to like a community park, or like a community event at a park, a local park. I know my team did that a lot. And we just like sold sodas over the summer, and we just like demoed our like robot. Just count all those events and count all the people at those events, and those are just great metrics to keep on your like document. And that's when, and like those are also incentives for sponsors, by like showcasing like, oh, like we go to all these events and we bring our sponsor banner at each of these events. So if you donate, everyone at these events will see your name. And yeah, and just like sponsor banner, sponsors like on like the robot and like a sticker or something. And yeah, other important information, just like statistics on alumni. So like percentage of alumni that go to college, technical college, major in STEM, who are currently in the workforce, and stuff like that, are really key, because that way it shows what your team is doing, all the good things your team is doing. Because if people see the impact, like, wow, like this team is amazing, like they're really making a good influence, they're really good influence on their community, I want to donate them to them so that they can continue being cool. Well, that's really key. So don't forget about this part. For sure.
Okay. And then cultivating relationships. So there's a couple different ways that you can maintain these relationships, even in a Zoom era. You could have like a robotics community day. I mean, under normal circumstances, it might be like kind of an open house where you can invite people from the community to come and check out your workspace. Now, if you're able to have at least somebody at your shop or wherever you work out of, that could be something. Have a virtual showcase and maybe show them your space, or have team members just kind of present about different projects that they're working on, which kind of goes along with like sponsor tours and presentations. Maybe reaching out to the sponsors that you have currently, or those that are potentially interested in sponsoring you, and offering to do like a presentation for them, and maybe like a tour or a demo of like a previous year's robot. Internships for high school students. I guess if a corporate sponsor is looking for high school students that might work with them, or, you know, because you have this company sponsoring you and people are always looking for opportunities for the summer, it might be something that they could collaborate with together. And then having like regular updates is really helpful for the sponsor so they can kind of see that the money that they're giving you is being put to good use, and doing so like quarterly or even like monthly is usually more than enough, because most teams would maybe do something yearly. So even if you do something quarterly, like you'll definitely stand out. And then multimedia resources, things like a blog or social media, just kind of showing that you are alive, existing, and making some kind of new content. Maybe it's team member interviews, mentor interviews, or any like cool tech things that members of the team are excited about, and then posting on the social media about various events. And right now, like throwbacks to events probably are pretty cool too, just to remind people of your history. Super important just to stay engaged with the people that are helping you in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, sorry. And a key thing to know also is probably a little like, personal story with my team in New Haven. Is networking is really key. Networking is what makes the world go around. Network. Make sure to network. Pass down contacts from generation to generation. When like if like once students graduate, like those contacts should be in the team database. Like once again, like in that like spreadsheet. Because it is really key. Also, like reaching out to local sponsors, local individuals helping out, like the First Vistas, the First Senior Mentors in Wisconsin, MSOE, and the new STEM Center, reaching out to them because they're all here to help. MSOE also has grants for local teams. So like these people are meant to help you. Reach out to them, network with them. For the personal story with my team, 7869, we're a very low income team. And we were also last year we were a second year team. So we were a month before January. It was like beginning of December, and we had no money, like zero money. It was really sad. So we couldn't even like pay for the amount to register for the year. And even like First actually gives our team a discount normally because we just are a low income team or like in a low income community. So we only had to pay like $3,000. The team got one grant for $1,000, but we're still like $2,000 in the hole. And we're like, me and the other head mentor were like we're like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen? Like we're not gonna be able to compete this year because we can't even pay the $5,000. So I sent an email to the dean, the deputy dean of engineering at Yale. He's actually on the board of directors for First as the treasurer. So I just sent him like an SOS email, like, hi dean, like right now we're mentoring a local team in New Haven. They don't have any money to register. Could you help us please? Like we don't know who else to talk to. We're like $2,000 in the hole, and we really want this team to compete because they're really great kids. We want to give them this opportunity, but we don't know what to do. It's like pressed up against time. Help. And like the next day, or like he just sent us an email back. It's like, hi, I found you guys an anonymous sponsor for $2,000. You're set. And we're like, oh, thank you. So we really owe him one. So keep those relationships with members in First, and people will help you and your team. And yeah, once again, just keeping those relationships with sponsors, with individual donors, with big name people in your community, is key. And like corporate sponsors, just regular small businesses, you want those relationships because you will help them, they will help you. Once again, just keeping that in note, keeping like noting that for the long term is really key to making your team financially sustainable.
Yeah, and also just like in these relationships, just make sure to be really genuine, because I think a lot of people come under the misconception that networking is something that has to be super transactional. But if you like make an effort to actually like get to know the sponsors or the representatives, I think they're just gonna, first of all, be more likely to actually want to help you. And second of all, just like having that nice relationship with them will be helpful to the team, and also on an individual level in the future, like with internships or something like that might also be helpful. So it's just really important to value the people that you meet and those relationships that you have.
Mm-hmm. For sure. One last thing before we move on. One thing that I forgot to put in the slides, but when we were talking about like how to find sponsors and just like members of the teams, so it could be like mentors, companies, or like the companies of students' parents. Another key thing to reach out to is alumni, because there's a lot of alumni, a lot of teams have been going on for a while. So alumni, when they graduate college and get jobs, asking those companies to sponsor the team, because a lot of times alumni might like leave the area or like go into companies that like cool companies, but like in other places. But like since you have that connection still, that alumni can talk to the company. It's like, hey, like in high school, like robotics like really changed my life. It changed my experience. I would really appreciate if you could like sponsor my team from back home, because like without my team, I wouldn't be here. So that's a really good connection to just network with companies outside of the area. And yeah, like once again, the more the merrier in terms of fundraising. So yeah.
And don't ever be afraid to like reach out to somebody, because the worst thing is either they don't respond or they say no. But if you don't ask, you'll never know. And I think that getting a no or a non-response is a lot better, because at least you like put it out there. And also, if you don't get a response, like don't be afraid to follow up, because I know for a lot of people, their emails are flooded, especially if it's somebody that works at like a big company or even a small company. They might have just missed it the first time. So be persistent.
Yeah, those are all good points. For sure. So to go more into the nitty gritty of writing a sponsor letter for this year, because you do want to still reach out to sponsors even though they're not giving as much money. Always got to do this. So best practices for that.
And I can take over here if you want to rest your voice, because I know you've been talking a lot.
Yeah, third session of the day. Woo.
Okay, so first, simple, pick a font and make a header. If you're going to be sending something to sponsors, you want it to look nice. This is actually an old one. This is a presentation I did 4 years ago. Wow, I'm showing my age. And so yeah, just pick a font, pick your logo, make it all nice and neat, because it's all about looking neat. If you send somebody something that doesn't look quite pretty, chances are it's much more likely that they'll ignore it. And if they're getting sent a bunch of different documents, it might just look like another, really long document. So make it nice. That's pretty much it for this. Just breaking it down. Choose a greeting, grab attention. Again, this presentation is just really to like break it all down. So figure out a way that you want to address them and then grab their attention. So it's like, are you ready to ignite the future of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? Like, heck yeah, I'm ready to ignite the future. So you want to, do something that's engaging and exciting. Okay, and then a brief intro and an explanation of FIRST. For us, it's very clear what FIRST is, because this is the world that we're in. However, to an outsider, it might be kind of unclear what it is. So definitely take some time to like establish who you are, and how FIRST works, because again, to an outsider, it's something that is completely new, and always assume that they have no idea what you're talking about. So you want to give them all the facts and features. Okay, and then explaining the goals and the challenge. Again, more so giving background on FIRST, and what the purpose of FIRST is, just mentioning the whole idea that FIRST likes to emphasize that it's more than the robot, because, if you want to do outreach and have an impact in your community, that's also another aspect of FIRST that you would want to get money for, and kind of make the letter feel like a conversation with the sponsor, like you're talking with them directly and not like cold. You want them to feel that you're like engaging with them for sure. And also like talk about your team mission too, like for you as a team, like what is important to you. That's something that's really good to establish for the sponsor letter. And then if you also write a business plan, is like, why do you exist? And I guess that's kind of like a broad question, but for us, for example, obviously winning is great and all, but really, and I think the reason why most FIRST teams exist is to provide a hands-on learning experience for the team members that you really can't get anywhere else, and also have an impact in the community through outreach, and then clarify why you need help. Explain like that FIRST is an expensive sport. Companies probably don't realize that just to participate you have to pay like $5,000, $6,000, and then every round you qualify for, it's even more. And that's not even like touching the robot yet. Plus there's machinery if you want to do even better. So yeah, definitely like emphasizing the cost of the program and how the donation will be like super duper helpful. And then mention sponsor benefits. So this is the biggest thing with the sponsor letter that's super useful, is kind of having some benefit system based on how much money a team gives you. So on the next page, you can see, I think it's on the next page. So we just had a simple checklist. Obviously, these amounts can be adjusted. This was in like one of our most successful years, and so like the amounts are kind of high, but like this year you'd probably want them to be something lower. But things like, you know, you could send the sponsor a t-shirt, you could have their name displayed on the robot, you can make them a sponsor plaque if you have like a laser engraver, or just like a thank you letter and a team picture. You can kind of get creative in the scope of what works for your team. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but whatever works for you. And then pick a layout that works. I know some teams like to do it in a pyramid structure, like a chart or something. We thought that this was the easiest, just to have a checklist so they can like check it off and pick which level sounds best to them. And then also thanking the organization at the end, like making sure that no matter what, you're still thanking them, because even if they don't give you money, you still want to be really, really nice, because they might give you money in the future, or they might know somebody that is willing to give you money, because it might not be a fit for them, but it could be a fit for somebody else. And also including how you would be really excited to have them as a sponsor and like proud, because, you know, people want to feel like you would value their money. So, you know, they want to feel important. And then signature and contact. So just like have your information on there, how they can reach you and everything like that. And then sponsor form. So you want to make it super duper easy for people to give you money. And so by having a form that they can fill out, whether electronically or physically, this makes it super easy for them, because they know what sponsorship level they're checking, how much money they're going to spend, and then it outlines everything for them, so they have no questions. They know who to make the text or who to make the check out to, where to send it, what to write. So there's just no questions. And obviously, like, you're going to be there for them, and stress that if they do have questions, but you also want to make it as easy for them to just like write a check and give you money. So overall, basically, you want to emphasize how beneficial the sponsorship support is, because it's really beneficial, and it's just figuring out a way to convey that, and then show how you will benefit them as well, whether it be just through the different things like putting their logo somewhere and you're going to be at competitions with like thousands of people, or you know, maybe naming a community outreach event after them. Then again, make it really easy for them to sponsor you, deliver on your promises. If you say you're going to give them something, give that to them. And then maintain contact with them through newsletters, or just like check-ins, and like always like, thank you for your donation. This is what we're up to. And however your team does that or wants to do that, that is just whatever you want to do.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming. We're here to answer any questions. We'd love to hear any ideas. Just use this to chat, whatever works.
Awesome. That was a really great presentation. Thank you both. So as Miriam said, if you have any questions at this time, please feel free to put them in the chat. Elizabeth, Miriam, and I will be monitoring that and answering any questions that come out.
Guess we were so thorough that nobody has any questions. Oh, another thing that's really important is that everyone on the team is on the same page and aware of everything that's going on, because I think a lot of the times some team members might assume that it's just the business team's responsibility to do this, whereas if this is a goal of everyone on the team, then you'll probably come out with a lot more resources in the end. Mm-hmm. Oh, and in terms of company partnerships, you might want to look for local engineering companies. not just for money, but maybe they have machinery that you don't have and they're willing to like machine parts for you. That's another thing to look out for.
I'd also like to add, I know you mentioned this during the presentation, but I'm one of the first Vistas in Wisconsin this year, and there's 2 of us this year, and we'll be here until August, and we are around the entire time, and really just here for any support that any teams might need, any students might need, any mentors. So please feel free to reach out to us. I can put my email in the chat in a minute, but we would love to get more in contact with some teams. So we are absolutely here for any type of resource that you need.
Well, I guess another thing to note is that like the skills that you get with fundraising, like for first, are skills that are going to be useful the rest of your life. Because I mean, so I started the business team on my robotics team my freshman year, and I didn't really have mentors. So a lot of the stuff that I learned through doing, and that's a great way to learn. And then now in college and even at my job, like, you know, everyone always wants more money. And so having the skills of fundraising is going to help you no matter what you do. And also writing is super useful. Like writing these grant applications is really good practice. Yeah.
For sure.
If nobody has any questions, I mean, anything, like nothing specific to your team or your experience, or if anybody wants to share other strategies that they found that are helpful to their teams, please do.
Maybe while we're waiting for some questions, it would be great to hear from you both on areas that you personally really struggled with within fundraising, and how the teams that you worked on or that you mentor now really impacted that learning process.
I can start. So actually 9:30, when I started on the team, was very did not have that much money, did not have that many resources. So that was like the first thing I did when I was a freshman and on 9:30. Was since my dad works in Janesville, Wisconsin, which is like an hour and a half or so away from Aguanago, where 9:30 is based out of. I actually just reached out to a lot of companies in that area because like they're just companies that my dad works alongside, because they just manufacture parts for his company, etc. And a lot of those companies sponsored our team, even though we're like not even in the same geographic area. So yeah, just networking is really key. I learned that right away. And just spreading out, being creative with who you talk to, it really helped us out and really helped 9:30 get those like resources, those materials, those like manufacturing capabilities that we didn't have before we had those sponsors. So yeah, and a roadblock, just like the more the merrier, honestly, in terms of sponsors. And now with my team, grants are super helpful because like my team last year that I mentored, like once we didn't have that many resources, we even in terms of like not only sponsorship, but just like going once again to like other places, to other teams. We basically built our robot in another team's shop because our school didn't even have a shop. So yeah, there's MSOE STEM Center. There's a lot of other teams who are super willing and able to help. So if you just don't have like resources, like tools, machinery, instead of like spend your money on like materials and like other things, and then but yeah, just use help from other teams. Basically, like they're there for you. Vistas are there. Everyone's there to help you. So use that to save money. And then in the future, maybe you can buy a shop. once the recession's like easier, etc. And yeah, stuff like that are just helpful in grants too.
Pretty much the same experience. I want to echo what Miriam said, like talking with other teams, like that's the thing about FIRST, right? It's a competition, but we're all there for each other. And so other teams are a resource. Like when I started our business team, I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew is that we needed money and I needed to get it. And so actually my freshman year, met somebody from another team and they helped me write a sponsor letter. So it was really cool to go from having no idea to then later by my senior year, like giving multiple presentations on how to do the things I did. So it might all seem overwhelming at first, but you just kind of have to start and go with that. And yeah, and talk with people at events, make friends from other teams. Everyone has creative ideas. I see that we have a question in the chat from James. What type of community outreach days have you done? What type of support did companies provide to make those days happen? For us, generally, like the sponsors would just kind of give us money and then put it at our will to use. So one of the events that we did was at our local YMCA. They had STEM nights for kids with disabilities, and so we partnered with them and like set up little activities for them to do and would help with whatever educational activity they were doing for the day. And that was probably my favorite outreach thing we did. Also like being at like a local state fair and doing demos and stuff like that. But yeah, generally our companies were pretty hands off, but this was a couple years ago. So
it also depends on the company, because I know GE does a bring your kid to work day where the employees just bring their students and they actually ask us to present. So we like 930 has some mentors and GE, as well as GE was our sponsor. So each year we just go to their bring your kid to work day. We present our robot, we present to the students. So yeah, just another like outreach day that we would like the sponsor would facilitate everything, but we would just show up and help out. So that's another option too, depending on the sponsor. Yeah.
can share another example of like so definitely to the sponsor nights and stuff like that is it's really important to also have a parent night. Like we were saying, like parent sponsors are so useful because we had like somebody whose parent is like in Johnson and Johnson and they just happened to have like $20,000 remaining in their budget from like a project and they were able to give that to us. So like please ask people because you never know when you might run into a scenario like that. So yeah.
Looks like we have about 3 minutes left. So any last remaining questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Otherwise, Miriam and Elizabeth did put up their email. So if you have any questions that come up later, feel free to email them. I hope it's okay that I'm saying that. Feel free to email them. Yeah, we'll keep looking in the chat to see if there's any questions.
One thing I will mention in terms of like doing community outreach days virtually versus in person, because normally it is nicer to be in person because you can show all the robots, you can show like all the students can present, and like there's just like more things going on. You can like hand out pamphlets and brochures. Just like Zoom events, kind of like this like conference almost, like things like that. Just like show, like invite everyone on a Zoom, have some students present, have some slides, maybe show a demo of the CAD of the robot or something. Or maybe if you are able to, maybe some like a few students and mentors can go to the shop and like just showcase their camera on a Zoom call. And yeah, just ways to involve sponsors. Even like just present demonstrations to sponsors just over Zoom, over Google Meet, stuff like that.
All right, well, if there are no remaining questions, it looks like the breakout room will close in about 50 seconds. So you're either feel free to stay until that time, or you can hit the blue leave breakout room. Thank you again to Miriam and Elizabeth for presenting. You did a fantastic job. This recording will be present on the YouTube page in about a week or so, so feel free to look for that.
Thank you so much
all.
for having us.
Mhm.